My biological parents' family are all scoundrels. They beat my adoptive father and forced me to kneel in the ancestral hall to recognize my ancestors. My adoptive father came to the door with the police. They sat on the ground and rolled around. Damn it, come on, someone robbed my daughter. The police are amazing, aren't they? If the criminal doesn't catch him, what's the point of playing in front of our common people? There is no one in a family who knows the law. Seeing that Qiang couldn't keep me, he said harshly. Wait, don't want to have a birthday for a day without paying. Very good. I'm not a professional counterpart to deal with scoundrels. #### chapter 11. Are you crazy? Let go of me. I was blackmailed by the people who came out of this family and went back to the village with them. They claim to be my biological parents. Now he forces me to kneel down and burn incense to the ranks in the ancestral hall. I don't follow. Unexpectedly, the oldest man who always said it was my father greeted me with a snap. How glorious it is for you, a woman, to recognize your ancestors and return to the family. It's still pushing 3 blocks for. Just then my adoptive father took the police to the door. My father came forward and pulled me behind him. It was stopped. The old pair began to shout. Damn it, come on, someone is going to rob my daughter. Their son pushed my father away when he saw this. The police couldn't stand it any longer and reprimanded harshly. What are you doing? The old man sat on the ground and began to splash. A bunch of people gradually gathered around to watch the excitement. 2. The old two can't do anything else, but they have a way to incite people's hearts. Start crying directly. Look, the police colluded with people to rob my daughter. My daughter was born exactly like me. Now it's hard to find it back. I want everyone to be a witness and let my daughter recognize her. The police control the sky and the earth, and they can't come to other people's homes. People around began to point. The policemen are not vegetarians either, and they repelled the crowd with a straight face. It's all scattered. There's nothing to see. Then he began to educate the old two. Beat people, you broke the law, do you know? The woman's appearance in her 50s, her eyes stared, her waist crossed, and she was full of energy. Call the police directly. My own daughter, you can fight as you want. The police are amazing. If criminals don't catch them, what's the point of playing prestige in front of our common people? I have never heard such shocking words in more than 20 years. Look at a face that is very similar to mine. I am extremely glad that they abandoned me. Otherwise, I can't imagine what the hell I would become when I grew up in such a family. Point 3. The family's surname is Li, the male is Li Yong, the female is He Xiaomei, and the son is Li Wei. The police all advocate reconciliation first. I looked at the 2 policemen and the family's popularization of science. They were still stubborn. I couldn't help picking up the most important words. Then what do you want? The old man looked at each other and turned their eyes. In the 20 years when you were not here, your brother did all the family work. Now it's time for you to share some. I put a smile. You didn't support me. Why should I do your work? Li Yong seemed to have that irritability and wanted to rush up to hit me again. He Xiaomei pulled her and blamed her. What did you say? Didn't I support you? At that time my family was so poor that I couldn't help it. I specially chose a rich family for you. Otherwise, would you live a comfortable life like now? #### chapter 2. I heard that you will be a lawyer when you come out to work in the future. Can't you be grateful to me? Besides, I didn't raise you, I gave birth to you. Otherwise, where did you come from? I sneered. Is it reasonable for you to be poor? I'm busy with school and don't have time to work. Only then did they follow my words and say the real purpose. If you are busy, you can pay. In the past 20 years, if you calculate for 20 years, you have to give me 10,000 yuan a year. You also have to give me 200,000 yuan. When I was born, you fought for your life. If you don't give it, you will give me back your life. My father is a university professor and has never interacted with these people. I heard such unreasonable and strange remarks. His face turned red with anger, but his good aptitude only made him say, "You are so shameless." I patted my father's hand and signaled him not to be angry. He said to the policeman, "Uncle policeman, do you see it? They are not simple. We don't accept reconciliation." Not only that. I turned my head and looked at the hateful person of the family and continued to export. Not only will I not give you a penny, but you also have to compensate me and my father's medical expenses. The last one? Li Yong's family watched us leave and caught up with us. Wait, don't want to have a birthday for a day without paying. 4. My father and I returned downstairs without any surprise. I saw Aunt Sue, the neighbor next door, turning back and forth there, looking very anxious. Oh, you're finally back. That family is a psychopath. You didn't suffer a loss, did you? Come to my house for dinner. I've been waiting for you. Aunt Sue has been interested in my father for more than a day or two. It's hard for her to be so interested in us at such a time. She kept chirping in her exaggerated tone. It temporarily covered up my father's uncomfortment. But when I had dinner at night, I obviously found something wrong with my father. There seems to be a little distance between him and me. I took the initiative to break the ice. Dad, do you think blood relationship is important? He was silent for 2 seconds. It's important. Then he put down his chopsticks and went back to the room. I didn't give me a chance to speak again. I bit my chopsticks and began to talk from Aunt Sue's mouth. After listening to Aunt Sue's old past, I understood what he meant. After I knew that I was not my father's biological son, Aunt Sue had no scruples when she complained. When my father was young, he was excellent in every aspect. You need to have an academic degree, you need to have an appearance, and you need a job. But his wife cheated on someone else and ran away after giving birth to a son. They have been married for 15 years and have no children of their own. He felt that I knew that there was no blood relationship between us, as if we were estranged and far away. After listening to the ins and outs, I suddenly stood up and pushed my father's room away. He put on his coat and sat at the desk to write something. I rushed over, and he scolded me for not knocking on the door. I held back my tears. Oh, I'll remember it next time. I just want to say that I only have your father. It's more close than the kiss. 5. My father and I didn't have a clean life for 2 days, and we were called to the door again. I knew that family would not give up, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. As soon as I got home, I was guarded by reporters. Excuse me, are you Ms. He? We are reporters from the Xiaozhou Help column. We will conduct an interview with you at the request of your biological parents. ##### Chapter 3. I frowned and wanted to see what this group of people wanted to do. They took out the video and showed it to me. It was the appearance of the biological parents crying in front of the camera. They changed their previous arrogarity. A handful of snot and tears said, Nan, we are old and haven't lived for a few years. I just want to see how you are doing before we die. I, as a mother, can't give up on you, but the conditions at that time were too bad. After all, you are a piece of meat that fell from my body. In order not to make you suffer, I specially chose a rich family, hoping that you can get ahead in the future. Now it's okay. I heard that you are studying in a famous university, and there must be a future. When will you come to my house? I'll cook for you. Looking at their sagging posture, I almost felt sick. The reporter asked me what I thought after watching the video. I held back my eyes and said indifferently, I have no idea. Please stay away from me. He tried to persuade me from the highest point of morality. Well, every mother in the world is great. Maybe she had a last resort before. Now these 2 old people really want to recognize you. I sneered. I don't want to. The scene was awkward at one time. The reporter's partner began to play the round. Madam, many netizens say that this pair of parents is too pitiful. I slanted at the person who was talking. He clapped his hands and walked to the door. He spread his hands, and the meaning of seeing off the guests was obvious. If you feel sorry for him, then take him home and raise him. 6. I have heard of that column group. Maybe I offended them, or maybe my behavior was explosive. They edited the miserable appearance of my biological parents and my inhumane appearance together. A new video has been released. Because of the controversy, the video suddenly became popular. So they came to the door again. Conduct a new round of interviews with me. Out of humanitarianism, can you see if you can pay monthly alimony, which is also a good part for these 2 elderly people. I only have one father, and I can only respect him. Seeing that I was not good, they wanted to use the pressure of public opinion to force me to be obedient. Why don't you take a look at the comments section? Maybe it will change. I swiped my finger and clicked on the comments section. Those who cleared water spoke for the 2 of them. The melon-eating masses were very hearty and told me what to do. Don't always regret the past. They gave birth to you. As a daughter, you should support the 2 old people. Why hold a grudge in your heart? After all, blood is thicker than water. There were many people who starved to death in that era, and there may be a last resort. Reconcile with your parents and reconcile with yourself. I looked at the camera and smiled like MMP. Invite this group of reporters out again and warn them to come to the door again, and I will call the police. Then he released another video with his own account on the internet. I posted the previous police receipt. Good people on the internet don't just talk about it. Look at the previous police receipt. The parents took their tall son to beat my adoptive father, and forced me to recognize my ancestors and return to the clan. If you still think they are weak and pitiful, you can take these 2 living fathers away. It's not early or late. I just came when I was an adult. What's the picture? People with eyes will see it. There are still a few people jumping in the comment section. For such comments, I will reply with 2 words. Send it to you. ##### Chapter 4. They jumped angrily. It's your parents, not my parents. I have a line with them in the comment area. Yes, that's nothing to do with you. In this way it is much quiet. Kuriko didn't speak. 7. This matter is very popular. However, the online public opinion slowly began to lean towards me. When I saw Qiang and Hishome again, it was the members of the column group who accompanied them. I'm still cold-faced as always, but my father's good education makes him unable to reach out and hit people with a smile. My father invited them into the house. The column team gave gifts, and Qiang and Hishome also handed over the big and small bags with them. My father postponed them all. The column group went around 7 times and 8 times. After a big circle they finally got to the point. Ms. He, we understand that you left your biological parents when you were a child and have no emotional foundation with them. We are here to apologize to you this time. They speak beautifully. The gist is that everyone should calm down when we meet now. No matter what, don't let the two sides meet like an enemy. I know that their column just wants a good result and take the opportunity to promote it. Many people like the happy ending. Yes, as they wish. Anyway, it's not enough for me to pay. Sure enough, after this interview, they quickly caught up with another wave of traffic. This matter can be considered to be over on the internet. Qiang and Hishome are probably instructed by the column team. They are starting to soften. 8. Just call me if you have nothing to do. Play the emotional card. That's all we said. We didn't want you as a last resort. Don't hold a grudge or anything. He comes to my door to eat at lunchtime from time to time. My father can't do the work of driving people away. Let them succeed several times. I said directly, I'm sorry, I've prepared a meal for 2 people at home. Why don't you go downstairs to eat a bowl of noodles? It didn't take long for their little thoughts to be exposed. Hishome called me and began to talk sideways. Recently I've been dizzy. Which hospital in the city is good? Hint me to take her. Or there is a shortage of this and that at home. I won't answer the phone. Maybe it was because they couldn't get a bargain with me so they found my father. That's when I accidentally heard my father call. And I didn't know. 9. That day I was going to go out to buy a book. But I forgot my headphones and came back. But I heard my father and Qiang on the phone. My father lowered his voice, and I watched him clench his fist outside the bedroom door. What did you say? Do you want more money? Qiang, why don't you know that you will take it when you see it? The first time you said you would give me 30,000 yuan. You left us forever and didn't bother me and my daughter. The second time you said that your 2 were not in good health and had to spend money for hospitalization, and I gave you another 20,000 yuan. What did you say? You said there would be no next time. You have found a new reason this time. Why? Your son has to pay for a house. Will I pay for your son's marriage and childbirth in the future? Greed is not enough for snakes to swallow elephants. After listening, I suddenly pushed the door and rushed over to grab the mobile phone and hung up. Dad, did you send money to Qiang's family without telling me? Why? Don't you know who their family is? My father pursed his lips tightly and lowered his head slightly. They just want money and will never bother us again if they give him 30,000 yuan, so... Chapter 5. How can you believe their nonsense? This family, a series of lies, can't do anything for money. At least you are high. My biological parents' family are all scoundrels. They beat my adoptive father and forced me to kneel in the ancestral hall to recognize my ancestors. 39103 How canned? My father's voice is getting quieter and quieter. I'm thinking in case. I interrupted him. What if they are like grasshoppers in the field, sucking you and trying to suck you dry? My father looked at my angry look, stunned, and suddenly laughed. Don't you like Qiang's family? I thought you wanted to recognize them. I put my eyes on my father's face and suddenly thought that my frequent contact and phone calls with Hishome might have been seen by my father, causing his misunderstanding. I suddenly realized, angry and funny. How is it possible? I just want to see what tricks they are playing. 10. I thought that after I told my father, he would no longer pay attention to Qiang's family. We just watched them act quietly. But my father was angry and admitted to the hospital because they came to the door again. I guarded outside the ward. When my father was resting, Aunt Sue quietly called me out. Xiao He, now that you have grown up, you are white and beautiful. You don't know that when you were a few months old, when you were a child, you were just like this. Her hands were about the same length as chopsticks. At that time your father didn't know anything, but he treated you like a treasure. He was a big man who changed your diaper and milk powder. You kept crying in the middle of the night, and he didn't know why. He stubbornly knocked on the door of my house to ask me. I was annoyed that he disturbed my sleepiness and spoke to him extremely impolitely. Now Aunt Sue is so kind to my father. I didn't know that she had such a fierce side to my father. Aunt Sue seems to see what I'm thinking. You little girl, you didn't expect it. I'm not such a superficial person who only looks at faces. Later, I didn't think your father was a good person, good everywhere, so I had a mind. In fact, I probably know what Aunt Sue wants to say. She looked at Li Yong's family treating me so attentively, afraid that I would change my mind and treat my father badly. I just listened silently. My father doesn't like to tell me these words. He won't tell me how tired I was when you were a child, how much thought I spent, how many nights I stayed up, and how many times I ran to the hospital. He doesn't like to make love public. Aunt Sue brought the topic back again. I'm afraid that you can't support it. Fortunately, day after day, you are almost like a normal child. By the age of 4, you are taller and stronger than ordinary children. At that time, other people's children could only eat 4 dumplings, but you could eat 10 in one breath. I was curious and sad when I listened to what happened when I was a child. Aunt Sue continued. Also, there was a time when you were stuck in your neck after eating dates, and you almost couldn't get it back. It was also your father who found out in time and took a picture for you. You were in the 6th grade of primary school at that time. Maybe you still remember it. I do remember this matter. I seem to be able to think of that uncomfortable and dying feeling now. At that time, my father must have been afraid. So later I was forbidden to eat dates. Until now. I forgot what dates taste like. Aunt Sue patted my hand. Aunt Sue said this as a bystander. I just think your father is really hard. Maybe you will experience it when you have a child in the future. I can't say that your biological parents are in the family, and I can't influence your thoughts. It's up to you whether you admit it or not, but I hope you can always treat your father as your own father. Chapter 6. After Aunt Sue finished speaking, tears slipped down the corners of my eyes. I began to reflect. It is indeed my practice during this period, which makes people misunderstand. In the eyes of others, isn't my behavior an idea of marriage? Thinking of my anxious yelling at my father before, I felt like an ant crawling, which was very unpleasant. At that time I didn't understand how my father, a professor, would believe the nonsense of Li Yong's family. I also paid them twice before and after. That he must also be afraid of losing me. 11. My father was hospitalized, and I cooked the food for him from home. I met Li Yong and He Xiaomei when I went back. They greeted me when they saw me. He Xiaomei stretched out her hand to take the things in my hand. I dodged. What are you doing? They saw that I looked bad and said with a smile, we are not here to find you. We are here to send something to your adoptive father. I can't control my temper when it comes to this. I want you to send me. My father was sent to the hospital by you. Get out of here. Don't let me see you again in the future. I'll just pretend not to know you. I will never give you a penny. He Xiaomei crossed her waist and said, I'm your mother. Why are you talking to me like this? It seems that my previous idea of vain and snake with them didn't work. This kind of person can't give a good face at all. Give her a little sunshine and she will kick her nose in the face. Now he talks to me directly as my mother. I called the security guard and kicked them out. I also said hello to him. Never let Li Yong and He Xiaomei in again. No matter what they want to do, I think the best way is to stay away. However, I far underestimate the shamelessness of Li Yong and He Xiaomei. There are only a few days left. I was in the college and received a call from Aunt Sue. Xiaoqi, it's not good. Come back quickly. 12. After my father was discharged from the hospital, I asked him to live in the staff dormitory of the school and not to go home recently. Turns out that my decision is right. When I saw Li Yong and He Xiaomei wrapped in quilts coming to my door, I was glad that my father was not at home, otherwise I would not have been so angry that I would have been hospitalized again. He Xiaomei stared at me angrily. Begin to howl. Oh my God, look at you black-hearted. You can only sleep at the door of your parents with quilts. If you talk about it, you will be poked in the spine. At least I gave birth to you. You are worse than a beast. You are very cold-blooded. Her voice is unpleasant and loud. There is a momentum that I won't give money. Later, people came to the community. The community is mainly about resolving conflicts. As soon as He Xiaomei saw someone coming to get into a rage, it seemed to be very beneficial to her. It's like grabbing a life-saving straw. Big sister, we are old and don't know anything from the village. If it weren't for old age, who would want to be laughed at shamelessly like this? Oh my God, help me think of a way. My daughter is very rich, but she won't spend a penny for me. Everyone has a problem. Seeing that person is weak, he wants to help him. The community sister began to do my ideological work. She chapered a lot of sensational words. I put my left ear in and my right ear out. Without suffering from others, I always like to persuade others to be kind. She said her mouth was dry, and she stopped to drink water. Picked my ears. It's a drama. Who can't do it? Sister, they still have sons. Raising children to prevent old age. This sentence is known to your older generation. Chapter 7. And I have been abandoned by them since I was a child. If it weren't for my father, the grass on my grave would have grown so deep. Besso, you see, I'm still a student. I spend my father's money. Where did I get the money to support them? Tell me. Do you want me to use my adoptive father's money to raise my biological father? After saying that, I wiped the tears that didn't exist in the corners of my eyes. Some time ago, they also asked my adoptive father for money, and sent my father to the hospital in anger. Now they are coming to the door again. What do you mean? I also know that your work is difficult to do, and I don't embarrass you. Qiang was so angry that her chest rose and fell. She pointed at me and almost poked my forehead. I don't care. If you don't give us pension money, I will follow you every day. If you don't get married, I will go to your school and your company to make trouble. If you get married, I will go to your wedding to make trouble. When your children go to school, I will make trouble. Your whole family will be restless. We don't have a good time. Don't think too much about it. I turned my head and became interested. Then how much do you want? They thought I was afraid and began to be proud. You don't want to do the 10,000 yuan you said before, but now the price has risen and you want 20,000 yuan. Do you want Ming coin? I'll give you as much as you want. I changed my fierce face and said to Qiang and his two. If you have the ability, you can sue me, okay? Otherwise, don't think I'll give you a penny. Don't come to my door to play tricks. Be careful. I'll call the police to arrest you. Point 13. They really went to sue me. I received a summons from the court not long ago. Qiang and his Tungmi for not supporting them. The day of the court, Qiang and Qiang are all together. As soon as he came up, he cried to the judge, Master Qingtan, my own daughter doesn't raise us two lonely old people. The corners of the judge's eyes twitched. Just call the presiding judge. She changed her name as it was, and her intonation remained unchanged. At this time it began to be windy and rainy outside. The staff wanted to go forward to close the window. Qiang was shocked and roared, Don't turn it off. I'm going to swear out of the window later. Whoever says a lie will be struck by lightning, and he won't die. The judge said, It's useless to look at the evidence in court and make a poison oath. I can't hold the corners of my mouth. I didn't deny my biological relationship with them. Instead, state the facts. They abandoned me when I was a child, and it was my adoptive father who raised me. The only one I should support is my adoptive father, Qiang. Qiang jumped like thunder after listening to it. Fart, you recognize an outsider as your father, and I am your father. You should raise me. Otherwise, you have to go into prison to eat. You. I don't slow down. According to the Supreme Courts, on the punishment of the abduction and traffic of women and children in accordance with the law, Article 16 of the Opinions on Crime stipulates, if it is not for the purpose of illegal profit, but forced by difficulties in life, or influenced by the idea of favoring sons over daughters, giving children who do not have the ability to live independently to others to raise, it is an act of people asking for adoption. It means that my adoption relationship with my adoptive parents is legal, and I have no legal obligation to support my biological parents. Don't forget that you gave me away by yourself. I still have evidence here. I took out the video of them crying on the internet before. You admit that you chose my current adoptive father for me. Of course, the trial ended with the defeat of Qiang and his two. Qiang is a head shorter than me, and Qiang is about the same height as me. As soon as he came out, Qiang rushed over and grabbed my collar and was about to hit me. ####Chapter 8. My voice roared more fiercely than Qiang's. Just kidding, I'm not scared. You call me. I didn't pay enough for the first time, did I? I promise that if your fist falls today, you will enter me in the afternoon. Allo, if you bother me in the future, it's time for me to sue you. The crime of abandonment is sentenced to 5 years. If you are not afraid, just beat me. Qiang was so cowardly that his lips trembled with anger around his neck. 14. It's been almost a month. Li Wei called me. He scolded me when he opened his mouth. Are you still human? You are so angry with your mother. I don't understand what it means that he can't do it. Obviously, he was shouting to beat me a month ago to make me restless. Thinking like this in my heart, I asked, What do you mean? His voice was so loud that I had tinnitus. My mother is going to die. Are you satisfied? She has been lying in bed these days and said that she wants to see your last face. Come here quickly. I told my father about it and he sighed. People are about to die, and their words are also kind. I didn't expect that what was waiting for me was a conspiracy. 15. As soon as I arrived at Li Wei's house, I was sacked by him. He has been doing farm work for a long time and is very strong. I want you to be arrogant, I want you to be proud, and I have to sue my father and mother. Believe it or not, I will kill you first. Damn bitch, you will be honest if you beat you up. It's just a thing that owes you. At first I was struggling, but then I was dizzy by his kick and almost fainted. I knew that the family would not sincerely repent. The last time you saw me, you lied to me for revenge. Before I fainted, I heard Qiang's voice. Don't beat this little girl to death. The person who bought her will come later. When I woke up, I found someone in the trunk. Looked down again. The mobile phone and jewelry were all gone, and my heart was stunned. Later, I thought about it countless times and felt very thrilling. If I hadn't removed the taillight, if I hadn't crossed the highway, I would have reached out from the taillight hole to the highway staff for help in time. Maybe I have been sold to a mountainous area long ago. In the second half of his life, there is no dark life. I thought a lot in the trunk. At that time, what I hated most was Li Wei. That I wish he could die. The thought of the same blood flowing on me and him makes me sick. 16. The moment I saw the police, I knew I was saved. I was helped out of the trunk and my feet were soft. But I didn't cry until I saw my father. Then I hugged him and cried. Li Wei was later sentenced to 5 years in prison for kidnapping and trafficking. Li Yong and He Xiaomei came to my door and cried and asked me to let his son go. As soon as the two of them came up, they knelt down for me. You save away. How can we live without him? I also knelt on my knees. I can't stand their big gift. It's useless for you to find me. It's not that I told him to go to jail, but to let him come out. He violated the law. Okay. That I didn't give them a penny from the beginning to the end. Maybe some people feel sorry for them. But poor people must also have something to hate. Of course, I am also afraid in my heart. I'm afraid that Li Wei will come out for revenge in 5 years. So I'm going to sell this house and live elsewhere. My father is also about to retire. And I will graduate soon and I can find a job in the new home when I come out. I will always love my father. Although I am not his own child, I will remember the kindness of raising him for the rest of my life. This old man has been busy for me for more than 20 years. If there is no accident, he will have an old age relationship. Aunt Sue wants to get what she wants.